And this is the date of this article is literally September 25th, 2024.
Okay, his stock, but it's
so listen. Let's not focus. Let's not focus on the stupid stuff. Let's focus on everyday Americans.
But we're talking about people
if you go out, and I actually
running our country and having the foresight to
give me a second, ma'am. Give me a second, ma'am. Okay. If you go out and you talk to people every single day, and I'm outside talking to people every other day. As a matter of fact, I just recently dropped the first installment of Street Interviews where I'm talking to regular everyday people in everyday cities every day. Every day. Overwhelmingly, people are saying that my life was better in 2016 through 2020 versus 2021 up till now. That is the sentiment of the people. They saying that I could have afforded things back then. My groceries were lower, my gas was lower, my lifestyle was better, and I was thriving at that time. And they're saying that now, at no point during this Harris-Biden administration have I been thriving as a result of them being president and vice president of the United States of America. So we can talk about billionaires, but none of us is billionaires. When we talking about everyday Americans, they are suffering. Debt out of control. People have been getting their cars repossessed at an unprecedented rate. If it wasn't for the rent moratorium, more people would have been thrown on their head as a result of evictions. Foreclosures are up. And it's not like it's a lack of housing that's available when she's saying that I want to build 3 million houses by the end of her first term. There's 1.8 million houses that's available for sale right now. We have an affordability problem. People have wages that are increased, but it still didn't even keep up with the rate of inflation. So if you're sitting here and you're telling me that people are benefiting as a result of their policies, which you can't cite the policies, but I am familiar with the infrastructure bill. I am familiar with all of the things that she's implemented and the things that they baked into it that don't even have anything to do with the subject of what the bill is. I am familiar with the bipartisan deal as far as them trying to act like that they wanted to close off the borders and add 1,500 new migrants. But at the same time, they still implemented the new parole policy earlier in 2003 that allowed for them to fly up to date more than 1 million migrants into these different places, which is one of the reasons why you'll have 20,000 people that just pop up in Springfield. I'm familiar with every single thing that they're doing. You know why? Because I've covered it every single day over the last 3.5 years. So if you're telling me that people's lives is better, or are you telling me you just voting for it because you don't like Trump, then separate the two. Because anytime
I can tell you other reasons. I can tell you other reasons.
I ask a Kamala Harris supporter why they like Kamala Harris, they keep telling me why they don't like Trump. Tell me what you like about her and cite the policy. Please stop making excuses as to why you don't like somebody else, because that is not a reason why you should vote for somebody is against somebody else.
I didn't give you the reason that I didn't like him. I could give you plenty of those, but I didn't give you that.
And help me to understand how the next 4 to 8 years, your life will be beneficial as a result of it, and you're not going to get more of the same of what we experienced over the last 3.5 years.
Okay, so I have a couple of questions. You said you talked to many people who are losing their homes. I find that, where did you find that site? Because one, I don't know anybody.
I'm on the street. I'm on the street.
On the street. Okay.
Every day I do interviews. Every other day I do an interview.
Okay. Do you know anyone
personally? And foreclosures are up. Once the rent moratorium went out, a lot of people got evicted. A lot. And the only reason some people didn't get evicted in some of these cities is because if you go out to California, for example, they have stronger laws in order to make sure it's difficult for you to be able to evict certain people that's in these houses. And we're not even talking about the landlords that suffered as a result of the rent moratorium and them not paying rent for all of that amount of time and them having to go to the banks and try to negotiate being able to keep the houses themselves, because the majority of the people that are landlords are one property, 2 property landlords. They're not large corporations and people that are rich. It's a lot of people that suffered. And I got a lot of friends that own a lot of property that said that, hey, this fucked me up because they basically installed this moratorium and they allowed for these people to live in my crib for free. They tore it up and now I couldn't even get no rent as a result of it. And I had to figure out how to float the property. Okay. That's real life. And you talking to somebody
so those same, and so do I.
So over 20 property.
Well, no, I don't own over 20, so I only own one. And I'm gonna tell you one thing: since Biden has been into office, our property, I don't know where you live, what state you live, but in Texas and in most places, the homes values have tripled, tripled.
Do
So
you know
so
why they
you tell
tripled?
me how,
I'll
pardon
tell
me,
you why. You want me to
please.
tell you why?
Yes.
Because everybody were leaving blue states and running the red states. That's why you kept seeing slogans of people saying, don't turn my Texas into California. Everybody were running from the Democratic plantations that they basically created that was horrible. The Chicagos, the Californias, everywhere in California, New York, they were all leaving and coming to red states and trying to turn them blue. And that's why you're seeing the properties explode in value. But if you actually look at the states themselves, Houston is a blue city. Dallas is a blue city. These cities are Democratic strongholds now, and they over there fucking up the market because you got a lot of people that were running from the places that they created. That's why the property values exploded in those places.
So, Anton, you're of a belief that the Democratic exodus is what surged real estate prices.
Absolutely.
In
Absolutely.
particular, two states surged prices nationally.
No, it wasn't just two states. People moved to Nashville. They moved to Tennessee. They moved to Nevada. It was a lot of people that did that. A lot of people left these Democrats. And that's why what you see is there's an influx of people trying to repopulate a lot of these states and these cities, such as Chicago, and they allowing for these migrants to come into these places and buy these homes. Absolutely. And if you look over in Chicago, the reason that you know it's an exodus, because more people left California than went in during the Biden-Harris administration. More people left New York than went in. More people left Chicago than went in. And what they did was, in order to make sure that they allowed for the budget deficits that they're facing over there, they're raising property taxes. And there's people over in Chicago and Cook County whose property taxes is jumping 86%, while the actual city itself is facing a budget deficit of over $1 billion. $250 million this year, $942 million next year.
But you would acknowledge correlation doesn't equal causation, and you don't know the reason why people are leaving. You would acknowledge that, right?
Okay, you tell me why they're leaving. Why are they running the red states?
But I just looked it up.
Hey, you know what? Hey, and this is going to be the first time I actually agree with Anton right here. Being a person that's from Chicago and Illinois in general, Illinois has one of the highest state income taxes that you can have. Then Chicago adds on to that another city tax. They tax you at every turn. And when you look at it as far as for manufacturing or jobs, especially if you're going to be either in healthcare, engineering, any of the big jobs that you want to have, there's a relatively shortage on those jobs. And companies themselves have moved from those areas. They've moved from California, they've moved from Nevada, they moved from a lot of places. And where did they move? Majority Texas. And that's why you see so many people come down to Houston. You got Exxon, you got Chevron, you got Raytheon, you got so many companies that moved to Texas.
Right. But that's cost.
Why did they move to Texas? One, state tax, none.
Because it's not a business-friendly environment, and they think that they can tax their way to wealth, but basically they're running companies out there that's basically paying the majority of the taxes. That's why you see what's happening over in Oakland. That's why you see what's happening in San Francisco. It's happening all across these Democratic strongholds, and people are running away, even though they voted for the same policies and the same governors that's basically ruining their states. It's a fact.
And correct me if I'm wrong, but if the housing rate has tripled and there are... I'm sorry?
In certain areas.
Okay. And there are not as many jobs available and the cost of living hasn't increased, wouldn't that create an affordability problem?
Absolutely. That's what we said.
I'm sorry. Wait. Say that again. I'm a C student. I'm slow.
Okay. So if the value of housing has tripled in some areas, if there are not as many jobs available, so basically the unemployment rate has increased.
There's not as many jobs available in certain areas.
Okay.
And but there are more jobs in places where they're running too. So for example, how he indicated Exxon is moving their headquarters down in Texas, how he indicated that Tesla is moving their headquarters and they built the Gigafactory down there in Texas, how X and SpaceX is moving their headquarters down in Texas. There's a lot of jobs that are flocking over to there, but there's not as many because of automation and AI and things like that. And so there has been a huge exodus in tech layoffs. There has been a huge exodus in a lot of the jobs that people do every single day. And so there is suffering and there is some problems that's happening in a lot of these places that people are running away from. Absolutely.
So I just looked up something, right? And it said that in the first half of 2024, foreclosure activity in the US was lower than in the same period of 2023. But in some states saw a significant increase. And I'm looking up stats regarding in the past years, like when Trump was in office, foreclosures was higher compared to now.
Cite your sources, Q.
Okay, I'll put it.
And specifically,
I have no game. I'm looking up stats
because we can throw blanket statements, but let's get to the context. Let's cite our source and let's go into it.
Okay.
Anybody else that is caping for Kamala? Why are you voting for Kamala Harris, Alderwoman Harris?
Because she black.
Y'all not gonna get me.
No, I'm asking, why are you voting for Kamala Harris?
You can go back to the first video and find out.
No, I'm asking you personally because you may have changed your perspective.
No, I haven't. One of the reasons why I'm voting is because I need to protect my personal right, but cancer, because I'm a breast cancer survivor. If I lose the ability, if I lose my job and don't have insurance, I'm fucked for the rest of my life. So regardless of what you represent, Republican or Democrat, if you say something ignorant, I'm talking to anybody on that point of it, then you need to take a slow walk.
I'm trying to understand how that directly ties.
Because they want to repeal the Affordable Care Act, which provides protection for me.
He didn't repeal the Affordable Care Act.
So it helps regulate my hormones. Where do I got to cite? You can go to the .gov. They want to. The Trump administration, when he first got in there, was trying to appeal it, but didn't have enough votes.
Right, and it was what was his name? The older guy that passed away.
So basically, so hold on. Let me summarize it. So what you're saying is that you leverage Obamacare in order to make sure that your health care is taken care of. And so, is that true?
I leverage the protection. Absolutely.
I mean, healthcare. If you, I don't know, most of you don't even probably realize this, but if you rewind about 20 years ago or more, the insurance industry would only allow you to have insurance if you did not work for a company, if you had cancer, any kind of heart condition, even if you had asthma. You could have been turned away. Even if you could afford it,
life
you couldn't buy it
until you are 5 years clear. So this is my 4th year. Next year, this time, I'll be able to get life insurance. I wasn't one of those people that thought about doing it. You know what I mean? I was ignorant to it. Now having something and dealing with that, it's like, yes, I need to get my life together. So now I want to be able to get some life insurance, and I got to be 5 years no cancer clear to be able to do that.
I can't argue for or against that because I don't know enough about that to be able to.
I tell you what, if you get sick or you get a family member that gets sick, you will learn to quickly identify with it, because as you age, you will get sicker and you will have a family member that will be sick. And if Trump was to have his way, or the Republicans, and say they would repeal it, trust me, you would be one of those. If you owned your own business, you wouldn't be able to get insurance. You'd have to work with somebody.
Just because you get older.
You sure about that?
Oh, I'm 100%. I'm an insurance agent. I can tell you definitely.
So you're telling me that I wouldn't be able. I would be. Nah, I'm not gonna make it about me.
You would be denied. You would have been denied insurance.
One thing
I have been denied.
One thing I didn't agree with when it was implemented with Obama, though, was forcing people to have it. And if you didn't have insurance, you were fined. I didn't agree with that. If you don't want insurance, then you don't get insurance. If they created affordable care, allow it to be affordable, but to make people have health insurance, and then if they don't do it, they get, I think it was like $90. That's not right to low income people that have a probably, low income job where they can't even get insurance. And then they also, a lot of people don't think that, why am I going to pay a premium? And I don't need to go to the doctors that much. So there are people that in this world that live like that. So having that penalty, I didn't agree with that. So in that part of the Obamacare and that policy and process, Affordable Care Act, I didn't necessarily support that.
I can't speak to that again, because I don't know enough about it. So, I'm not gonna argue that at all.
They were
I can only
saying
argue
if you had a family. They were like, it's like $300 if you had a family, and none of y'all had, each person that wasn't insured was fined.
I've never been in that position because I've always had insurance. So I don't know anything about it. That's not something that would concern me. I am curious as to how Trey is voting and why.
I'm definitely leaning left. I think that a woman should have the right to choose. I don't like. You disagree?
I just want to hear the rest of what you got to say first.
You laughed already. I'm just asking you. Apparently, you disagree. You don't think a woman?
I got to hear the rest of what you say before I can say whether I agree or disagree.
But you were already laughing, so apparently you already.
Because you're not a woman. So what does that got to do with you?
So most of the positions that you hold only pertain to you and not to anybody else? Because I hear you
asked
say
why you were voting the way you were voting and why. I'm trying to hear you out. I laugh because you're not a woman. And so I'm trying to understand how that applies to you, but I'm willing to hear you out.
Okay, perfectly fine. But I'm just so we can just be transparent, because I've heard a lot of your guys' positions, especially yours on the LGBTQ, and you aren't a part of that community, but you pass a lot of opinions on them. Correct?
Yeah, I think that it's weak, and I think that the Obama administration left us with a lasting legacy that is going to be a stain on this country for the rest of my life. But I don't deny people's humanity. I just don't agree with their lifestyle. But I don't agree with a lot of things that people do. I don't agree with doing drugs in the community. I don't agree with a lot of things. So I mean, but that has no impact on whether or not what does that have to do with the question that I asked you?
Because their lifestyle doesn't pertain to you because you aren't a member of those communities.
What is that? No. I asked you why you were voting the way that you were voting and why. And I'm trying to understand, how does that have to do? What does that have to do with whether or not I agree with people's lifestyle?
Because what you just previously stated was you laughed at me because I said I support women's rights, and you laughed because you said I'm not a woman. Therefore, why would I care? So I could ask you, why do you care about LGBTQ when you're not a part of the community?
Because I think that the things that they're doing and the things that they're trying to pass off affects everybody. The way that they're trying to put things in schools and in books that's not relevant to how I would teach my child is absolutely atrocious. I absolutely hate the fact that they're trying to. I'm sorry.
I think I agree with that. It's just how you think. I reject what you're saying, but I agree with your sentiment.
How you reject it and you haven't heard the full thought of what I'm about to say?
Just how you laughed at me mid-sentence.
Like I said, I don't agree with what they're trying to put in our books. I don't agree with the fact that they allowing for men to be in women's sports. I don't agree with the fact that you can go in any bathroom that you want to, because again, I was sitting in Miami's airport and I see a grown fucking man walked in the bathroom behind my daughter. That was fucking egregious. And so when I see a lot of the things that it's then creating as a result of going down this path, I 100% disagree with it.
And I think that it's fair. I disagree with your characterization of it, but I agree with your sentiment.
What characterization of it?
That there's just a slew of transgender individuals just running into bathrooms and trying to play sports.
I didn't say that.
You just mentioned the transgender man going into a restroom, no? Or did you just say a man?
I cited an example of why I don't like that particular policy and how it's starting to transpire across the United States of America in different places.
Okay, but what's the?
I never said. So you can't put words in my mouth. You got to say what I said if that's what you're going to use in order.
What's the implication though? Because if something was
I don't do implications, I do exactly what I said. I said I don't like that, and you agreed with the first couple points. But then when I talked about going in the bathroom, for some reason that bothers you. I don't know why that triggered you.
No, it bothers me because I think the implication or the insinuation is that you're seeing it frequently happening.
I don't like it if it happens one time.
Okay.
I've witnessed it happen, and it was not a transgender. It's it's men that look just like you. They're walking in bathrooms because they have the right to, so they feel. This is something that a lot of women are experiencing. So I just wanted to add that.
Wait. Let me ask you one question, Trey.
Mm-hmm.
What is a woman? What is a woman to you?
A person who identifies as a woman.
There you
Wait,
go.
So I can identify as a woman and go into a woman's bathroom, and that's acceptable?
If you present and that's your gender, then yeah.
Would you have answered that way 10 years ago?
Honestly, I don't know. I don't think I was I don't think I'm educated enough to really answer that question fully now, but I definitely wasn't educated enough 10 years ago.
So if somebody asked 10 years ago what a woman was, you would be like, I don't know.
100%. I thought sex and gender were the same thing 10 years ago.
So a woman is anybody that identifies as a woman.
Gender
and
is
they
a
should
social
have all
construct.
of and no, it's not. And they should have all of the benefits and all of the privileges that comes with a biological woman.
No.